George Washington's greatest moment, when he gave up power. He led a revolution against a king, and when it was over, the people asked, would he become one himself? The world held its breath. The general who defeated the British Empire stood at a crossroads. Would George Washington crown himself, or lay the foundation for a new kind of freedom? This is the story of why George Washington refused to become king, and how that decision saved the future of America. George Washington didn't begin as a revolutionary. He was a British officer loyal to the crown. But after years of unfair taxation, British control, and broken promises, he chose the side of the people. As commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, Washington suffered defeat, hunger, and betrayal. But he held the army together, not with power, but with trust. And in 1783, after 8 years of war, the impossible happened. America won. On December 23, 1783, Washington did something no one expected. He stood before Congress and resigned his military command. This wasn't just a personal act, it was a global message. In a world ruled by kings, emperors, and tyrants, Washington gave up power. He returned to his farm at Mount Vernon. King George III reportedly said, "If he does that, he will be the greatest man in the world." And he did. After the war, the United States was fragile. The Articles of Confederation were weak. The government was crumbling. There were whispers that perhaps Washington should become King George I of America. A monarchy, some believed, would bring stability. They had their savior. Why not give him a crown? Washington's answer was simple. No. He did not fight one king just to become another. Washington was a student of Enlightenment thought. He believed in republicanism, the idea that government should come from the people, not be imposed by birthright. He knew power was seductive. He also knew it was dangerous. Absolute rule, even by a benevolent king, leads to tyranny. He once wrote, "The preservation of the sacred fire of liberty is finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people." When the Constitution was written in 1787, there was no question who would be the first president. George Washington was unanimously elected in 1789, but even then he walked carefully. He refused to be called His Majesty or Excellency. He chose the humble title, Mr. President. He didn't live in a palace. He didn't wear royal robes. He didn't abuse power. Instead, he created a model of leadership that combined humility, discipline, and vision. Washington could have stayed president for life. The people would have allowed it. But after 2 terms, he voluntarily stepped down. That moment, more than any battlefield victory, was his greatest contribution to the Republic. It proved that leaders serve the people, not the other way around. In his farewell address, he warned of the dangers of division, foreign entanglements, and the thirst for power. His wisdom still speaks today. Washington wasn't a saint. He had flaws. He owned slaves. He lived in a time of contradiction. But in his most critical moments, he chose principle over power. He taught America that real leadership comes from restraint. By refusing a crown, Washington gave the world a new idea, that a man could lead a revolution, win a war, and walk away from power with dignity. Not a king, a citizen, a founder. George Washington could have been a king. Instead, he became something far more powerful, a symbol of freedom. His crown was never made of gold. It was forged in honor, sacrifice, and self-control. And that is why he remains the father of a nation and the soul of a republic.